What's going on, everybody? Gem Mint here with my co-host Rockin Robbie, and we're going to count down our top 10 favorite books of the week. What's up, Robbie?
What's up, homie? You know how it is. Ain't nothing but an Ncbd thing going on around here. Super excited to be here.
Ain't nothing but a comic book, baby.
We're going to jump into this thing, and we're talking full-on spoilers here, guys. Before we do, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss a video. We do have a giveaway going on right now for our next subscriber milestone of 150K, where we're giving away this Deja Thor's premium format by Sideshow. Stick around to the end of the video and I'll give you more details on how the giveaway is going to go down. And a quick word from the sponsor of this video. Cheap Graphic Novels is your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They pride themselves on packaging your books so they arrive safely and in excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain bin for even greater deals up to 90% off cover price. CGN is excited to announce that they're now taking pre-orders. They're making it easier for you to ensure that you don't miss out on the hottest releases. Cheap Graphic Novels is currently running a special promotion for the Geminites. If you're a first-time customer, let them know that you were referred by Gem Mint Collectibles at checkout and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. This promotion is only valid for the United States. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discounts and quality shipping and customer service that will keep you coming back for more.
At number 10, I've got Out of Body number 2 from Peter Milligan. He's a veteran in the industry, and I'm always excited to see anything new from this creator. This is a really cool book. I loved issue number 1. I thought the second issue did a great job of kind of continuing on with that story. It's about a dude who has been attacked. He's in a coma, but he's aware and conscious of what's going on. He gets injected with some psychedelics while he's in a coma, and he all of a sudden can astral travel outside of his body. So now, and it's a bit more complex than that, but now he's basically trying to solve the mystery of who attacked him. I really like the artwork. It gets downright psychedelic at times, and the way the story is told, visually and through the dialogue, I really think it's exceptional.
Yeah, I love this book. I was a big fan of issue 1 and issue 2 delivered as well, but it's a little higher on my list, so I'll speak more on it when we get to it. My number 10 was Suicide Squad issue 5. I've never really enjoyed a Suicide Squad run, but I've been digging this one, and I like the change of pace here. Amanda Waller sends Bloodsport to Earth 3 to case out the metahumans over there, and what he finds for the first time is the crime syndicate. And I kind of like him spying on them through buildings, spying on his future self. The character design of Bloodsport is super interesting and extreme 90s, and then he gets caught at the end by Ultraman, and it doesn't look too good for him. Robbie, you gotta let me know a little bit about Bloodsport.
Well, I'll tell you this, I loved Bloodsport when I was a kid because he was in like one of the John Byrne Superman issues. That was where he was introduced. I think something like his brother was killed, so now he's on this revenge spree, but he's got the ability to pull all these different kinds of weapons from wherever, like high tech and just low tech. Really cool stuff. And I really am liking Suicide Squad. Like, I don't think it's the best book on shelves, but it's not the worst whatsoever. It just hits the right buttons for me, just kind of dumb, fun, but very interesting. The idea of Amanda Waller going to other universes in the Omniverse to try to find other members for the Suicide Squad. We get a costume upgrade for Bloodsport that puts it more in line with Idris Elba's portrayal in the upcoming movie, but I'm okay with that. For my number 9, I've got Firepower number 13. After the craziness of the last 12 issues in the graphic novel that came before, Kirkman and Samney and Wilson, they decide they want to slow everything down. Now, we've had some really great action, some really great emotional content in this story. Lots of kung fu action, lots of family drama. And in a way that Kirkman, I think, is doing better here than he's ever done. He's doing it without being overly verbose and over dialogue heavy. This book's got a great flair to it, right? But then you come to issue 13, which is the start of the next arc, and the family's just trying to go back to normal. And the way the book shows the tension in the midst of that, when they can't even eat a meal without feeling like a bunch of ninjas are going to come in. That's got to be a crazy world to get into, and I really dig the idea that Kirkman went to that perspective for this kind of slower issue.
Yeah, I'm loving Firepower. Didn't make my top 10, but you're right. The family dynamic of them sitting at their dinner table, everyone's uneasy. There's like this tension, like, am I going to be able to eat this steak without a ninja kicking me in the face? And I love the family aspect here. You have Owen now teaching his daughter how to throw fireballs, and she's able to do it. So that adds a cool dynamic to this book as well. And then like the love triangle, his love from back at the temple, she's alive, and I like the scenes of her. She's kind of like feeling some type of way. She doesn't want to ruin his life, be a homewrecker, and I respect that. And and he knows that she's alive now too, and he's dealing with that. I don't know. It is a good book. Like Kirkman does best. He gives you this like overall world building, and then you have the character development within it that makes it so great. So yeah, the more I talk about it, the more I'm digging it. But my number 9, we're going to go with Extreme Carnage. So I'm a symbiote sucker. You can give me symbiotes in the summertime, like this is supposed to be the summer blockbuster, the winter, spring, or fall. And this one is bringing back the Carnage symbiote. Not Cletus Cassidy, at least not yet, but the Carnage symbiote and Flash Thompson as Agent Anti-Venom. So we also have this Friends of Humanity being revived by this politician. They want to outlaw symbiotes, kind of like how Future State and the Magistrate over at DC wants to outlaw masks. After King in Black and symbiotes taking over the world, they're able to kind of tap into those citizens who don't want to see any more symbiotes. So that's like the cool like little building up tension that's going on in the background. Then you have crazy Carnage symbiote stuff turning into a fish, gets eaten by a shark, turns into a shark, gets captured by a fisherman, turns into the fisherman and comes ashore and shares a bond with Flash Thompson, kind of like the hive mind that we saw with Null. So if you like Carnage and you like Flash Thompson as Venom, he's back, and this is the symbiote Summer Spectacular.
You know, Extreme Carnage didn't make my list, but I thought it was all right. It scratches that symbiote itch, and ever since back in the day when Venom first showed up and then Carnage and then Maximum Carnage, I just eat this kind of stuff up. This one, it could have been a little bit better, but I'm not expecting too much out of a series of one-shots, but some just kind of fun, gnarly, heavy metal type action, right? For my number 8, I'm going Blacksmith #1 from Ahoy Comics. This is one that's probably going to be a little bit difficult to find, but if you can find, it's definitely worth checking out. It's written by Eric Palicki. It's got an amazing cover by Liana Kangas with just brilliant cover work on it, but it's about a private investigator who just also happens to be a werewolf, and her partner, it just so happens to be a djinn. You know, like a genie. So it's got this supernatural tinge to it. It's a black and white comic book, but the artist does a really good job of kind of using that to make it feel a little bit more raw, rough, and gritty than what I've typically seen from this artist, because he also did Atlantis Wasn't Built for Tourists with Eric Palicki. I loved the book. I thought it had a great pace, kind of a little bit Buffy, but not very soap opera-y or teenage-oriented, a little bit more adult, a little bit more gnarly. I thought it was pretty solid, and definitely a sleeper hit of the week for me.
Man, there were so many new number 1s that came out from like Vault, Aftershock, all these like indies, and I put it on my list, and the shop owner was like, dude, I don't have like any of these books, man. So I missed out on a ton of books. I almost had a crazier poll, even though I think that this week was one of the larger polls that I had. So I didn't get a chance to pick up that one, but my number 8 was Basilisk #2 by Cullen Bunn. I think we both enjoyed issue 1, but felt like it could have given us a little bit more, and I think issue 2 really did. We kind of get some more dialogue between the gods that are searching for Reagan, the one that was captured by this female character. I don't really remember the circumstances, but basically this girl has Reagan. Reagan's not really down with all the death and destruction that these guys are causing, and she's kind of letting herself be bait so that this girl can draw in the rest of these gods or monsters so she can kill them. I mean, it doesn't sound like she has, a chance to do it, but she's going to create a kill box. I feel like that was from a Rick and Morty episode recently with the kill box. Anyway, I really like this, and I mentioned the diner scene. The diner scene was amazing. So, Pulp Fiction type of vibe that it had to it, of these characters basically with no regard for human life, and they don't want to let anybody see them. So when they leave, they kill everyone, and they do so with their powers, where they basically make everybody kill each other, which was a pretty gruesome scene.
Yeah, I liked Basilisk #1, and I enjoyed #2. I thought I liked issue #2 better than #1. There's something about it that's a bit muddy and unclear about what's going on and certain motivations, but the artwork is amazing. And that opening scene where they're just coming right through and just destroying and melting these people, like that was some really intense, super cool stuff. So I like the art technique in the book. We'll see where it goes. I trust Cullen Bunn. I think he'll do a good job. For my number 7, I'm going to go Tales Told in Techni Horror. Season 1, #1. This is from Scout Comics, and it's a horror anthology book, but it's all done by the same writer and the same artist. And they're all very quick, punchy, and dark stories that get right to it. No wasted space. It's kind of a little bit like a Tales from the Crypt, but each chapter has its own, its own like chapter art that's like a VHS cover or a movie poster from the 50s or a VHS cover from the 80s. So it feels retro, it feels old school. The whole techno horror idea, it's got these very like sickly sweet 80s VHS type colors to it. It's something really, really cool. If you're a big fan of horror comics, especially the 80s stuff, I would highly recommend that you check it out. Don't expect too much except for some really nice, quick, self-contained horror stories with a punch and a kick.
You know what's funny? I'm not a big horror movie fan, but I tend to like horror comics. And this was one of them that I put on my list that we didn't get in, and I missed out on this one. Anyway, my number 7, I went with Nocterra 5 by Scott Snyder. Digging this book. I've liked it since issue 1, and I really like where they're going. They found these sanctuaries. They found these places where they're able to either create artificial sunlight, or is it real sunlight? We don't really know, but it heals people. We get more backstory on our characters' parents and how they were healed and how that first campsite kind of treated everybody. And that's kind of all that happened here. There is a hook at the end that the guy that's chasing them down, this big bad guy, he's actually paying their savior or the person running this camp. So it looks like they're not going to be able to just chill here forever like our main character wants to. And it's a good thing that the brother is kind of not on board with that, because they're probably going to have to hit the road again.
You know, I am liking Nocterra. I thought this issue was pretty solid. It gets a little wordy for me sometimes. This is kind of like the way I feel about Undiscovered Country. I really, really like the concepts, but I'm starting to not even really care about the characters anymore. I just want to see the monsters. I just want to see all the craziness in this world, and I want to see that explored. And not that that's a bad thing. I mean, a concept-rich book, but for me, it just gets a little... I don't know, there's something about it that reminds me of Undiscovered Country where I can't get enough of it, but at the same time, I'm really not invested in any of the characters, but I still think it's some of the best Tony Daniel artwork I've seen in a very, very long time. For my number 6, I'm going X-Men number 1. This was probably my biggest surprise of the week. Y'all, I have been soured on these X books lately. The Hellfire Gala, I'm glad it hipped you up, Jim, but it just didn't do much for me. And I am at the point now with Hickman kind of taking more of a backseat showrunner type role is what it's seeming like. I was like, I don't know, Polaris is on this team, Sunfire, Sync, Rogue's cool, but like, I don't know, the team didn't excite me. Yo, I was very, very freaking surprised by this book. I loved it. I thought it had a great sense of superhero action and adventure that has been missing from the X-Men, especially since the Hickman era. Maybe one criticism a lot of people have is that it doesn't feel rooted and connected to what's come before. They're not superheroes. They're not out there interacting with the Marvel Universe. They seem like they're set above it, up there in Mars or Rocco, or doing whatever they're doing. But this firmly places them back into New York. I love their treehouse there. I love Cyclops' attitude. This is one of my favorite iterations of Cyclops, his attitude. Jerry Duggan's doing a great job of taking those characters and making something a little bit more comic book superhero oriented than what Hickman was doing. I think it was amazing, and as long as Pepe Larraz is on this artwork, it's going to keep kicking.
Now, in my defense, I didn't read every X book, so I didn't really get like the full Hellfire Gala. I liked what I read in X-Men and Planet Size and things like that, but from what I've seen in other places, I don't think I missed out on much by not reading those other issues. And yeah, I loved X-Men 1 as well. It's way higher on my list. I'll give my thoughts on that in a moment. My number 6 was Out of Body 2. You've talked about it before. There is so many threads and so much going on that's all interconnected, but it works so well. You feel like you're getting your money's worth out of this book. This guy's in a coma. His astral form is going toward the white light. You have this one guy who's in one of those old school timely, what do they call those water suits? He's like a big tank. Anyway, he's up there using magic to try to snatch his soul and give it to his master. And then this other girl who has psychic abilities who can conduct seances and speak with the dead, she's up there to save him. So she saves him, walks him around like Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost, and they're trying to figure out who attacked him, why is he in a coma, who does he have beef with? He's just this therapist. He gets back to his body because I guess we find he can't be gone for too long or he won't be tethered. He's getting like raped by his nurse. And what I thought was super odd that I said to Robbie backstage here is like, dang, he wasn't even mad. He was like, how can I help this woman? Like, what? If you don't get off me, man. But yeah, man, there's so much going on. And then they have these trippy psychedelic panels that look awesome that coincide with the cover. And that's kind of like the LSD take on this book. But yeah, man, it's wacky stuff. A lot going on, but it's so much fun.
You know, I hope you appreciate that I left that rape scene for you to discuss, and I just kind of went right through it. For my number 5, though, we're staying alive with Batman number 110. I'm loving it. James Tynion is doing a great job with everything else that he's doing. First of all, we know in Future State about the Magistrate and where it seems this book is going to go. What I think the genius of the actual story is I don't think that's where we're going. I think that it's called Fear State coming up with the Scarecrow for a reason. All the framing scenes and all of these issues with the Scarecrow being painted in a very horrifyingly and like scary way. That's something really interesting. So I think that we've been lulled into this sense of security of knowing where we're going with Future State. And we're actually going into the Fear State, which I think is going to be way different, Scarecrow-centric, and putting him up on kind of like a pedestal to be like a really hardcore Batman villain. Because let's be honest, sometimes Scarecrows, Batman, all he has to do is punch him. And it's really over, you know? But the artwork as well. Jorge Jimenez is killing it. This reminds me of some of those 90s comics where they got criticized for doing every page to be like something they could sell, like a splash page. But that's what this is, and it's dynamic. Almost every single page has a central figure anchoring everything in with this highly charged kinetic action. The coloring by Tomu Mori is so freaking just, it sparks off the page, off the line work by Jimenez. This book, it's DC's flagship superhero book, and it's working. It's working on all levels. Story, art, just direction. I'm a fan. Number 5.
Yeah, this one's higher on my list, so I'll save my thoughts for that. But it's funny you say that. I was going to say, this guy needs to be working with Prime 1 Studio, and they could be making statues out of his depiction of Batman. It's classic, iconic Batman. It kind of reminds me of like Jim Lee's Batman in that sense. And like you said, like every kind of panel that has Batman on it could be a t-shirt, could be sheets, could be a lunchbox or whatever. So I'll save my rest of my thoughts for it when I get to it. My number 5 was Geiger 4. Loving Geiger. It's probably one of my favorite issues to read anytime it's out. This was like a Mad Max desert post-apocalyptic chase of these guys in ambulances, like real ambulance chasers, but they're driving the ambulances. Anyway, they're trying to get the Atomic Man and the 2 kids, which he's basically now responsible for. His family in that bunker is gone. He was basically guarding nobody or nothing but bones. So now he's with the kids, and it's not safe out there, so he's got to protect them. Going back to Las Vegas, you have like this Joffrey King, Prince of Vegas kind of thing. He's got like this deformed Jabba the Hutt type of mother in the cellar, the queen, but you better not call her the queen, that just was eating people and things like that. I don't know. It's craziness, but I'm definitely digging it.
Geiger.
Hey, that's funny because my number 4 is Geiger number 4. I love this book. Great superhero fiction from Image Comics and from Jeff Johns. And Jeff Johns knows how to pace a comic along with Gary Frank, Brad Anderson on the coloring. It's got such a tight, rigid grid panel structure, but especially being in the desert, it doesn't feel constricted. It feels loose. It feels free. It feels like it's moving. And for something that's paced like that, or at least constructed like that, I should say, as far as the panel design, that's really exciting and enticing. And I love this book. You get a little bit more background information. We know 100% what the bars are, what they do. This character's so awesome. I cannot wait for Todd McFarlane to make an action figure of this. And it better glow in the dark, but perfectly paced superhero fiction from Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, and Image Comics.
I'm totally down with some Geiger action figures. Moving on to my number 4, I'm going Rom V on Swamp Thing with issue number 5. This is classic Swamp Thing. Robbie, I was watching your reviews. In my reviews, I gave comparisons to Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, and I don't like to do that. I feel like writers and artists probably don't like those comparisons, but it's not like he's biting Alan Moore. He's just making classic stories. And like you said, it's like a one-off type of story that just fits so well in the series that he's been writing so far. You have this one-off story of this atomic bomb from World War II didn't detonate. A building was constructed on top of it. The evil from the idea of what this bomb was meant to do seeping into the people living above, turning them into Nazis, and Swamp Thing getting called by the Green to come help them out. And then boom, John Constantine. You gotta love a classic John Constantine Swamp Thing interaction. And I'll save some for you, Robbie. I think this one might have made your list.
You know it made my list, but it made it a little bit higher, so I'll wait for that. But my number 3 is Mamo, number 1, from Boombox, Boom Studios basically. It's kind of like their middle-age reader imprint. I love this book, kind of like a lighter fantasy book. It has a lot of similarities to that recent Supergirl book, which is basically True Grit, but it's about this young woman who finds the witch of this village because she needs her to help her like sickly mother. Her mother's got some kind of curse on her or something like that. And then you get this idea that the witch doesn't want to do it because the actual witch of the community was her grandmother, and there's this whole backstory there. But the way that the artwork is it's magnificent. It's gorgeous. I was not expecting much out of this book, but it just blew me away. It has a great pace. It's very much inspired, I would say, by manga, not necessarily by the art style itself, but by the pacing of it, by that panel structure. It has a really great flow to it. It's an exercised issue, but it doesn't take you long to read, but you actually feel it. You feel nature. You can smell the breeze. You can feel the texture on the grass and all. It's something amazing about this artwork that just really immersed me into the story, and definitely worth checking out, and definitely something for if you got some younger kids that maybe want to check out some comics. This might be one to throw their way.
I'm not sure if this was one of those number ones that I wanted to pick up. I can't really remember, but I didn't get to read this one. So we'll talk about my number 3, which is a book you've already discussed, Batman 110. The first battle between Batman and the Peacekeeper 01. And man, they even mentioned they've been fighting for 18 minutes so far. That's a win in itself. It's not looking good for Batman. Hell, we know what happens to Batman in Future State. He gets killed by the Peacekeepers. He gets saved by Ghostmaker, and I really like that. For a little bit, I think maybe even me and you discussed this, Robbie, that Bruce Wayne and Ghostmaker are going to probably butt heads sooner or later, but he came through. He made himself useful in this issue to save him. And the Scarecrow. The thing I like about this Scarecrow is that he's got the whole city scared without using any toxins, just by placing harmless scarecrows everywhere. And I kind of like how he's messing with people like that. And then the Ghostmaker backup story, I really enjoyed that too, telling us why we should like Ghostmaker, why he should be considered up there with Batman, with Bruce Wayne, and why he should be respected as a fighter with or without his armor.
You know, I've been skipping that Ghostmaker backup story, but hearing you now and on your weekly review, I definitely maybe should go back and reread those. And in the main story, I'm loving the character. And yeah, I think that one day they will butt heads, but I don't want that day to come anytime soon because I'm loving this is a new dynamic. He's never had a partner quite like this. So really great stuff. For my number 2, I'm going The Swamp Thing, number 5. Rom V. We got John McCrea doing the artwork here. John McCrea from Hitman fame, right? With a completely different style. We still got Mike Spicer on the coloring. He's like this new generation's Dave Stewart, who colored Hellboy throughout most of the Hellboy's publications. Still does today, I think, even for the most part. But this was a great book that reminded me of those classic Vertigo runs, like the Alan Moore Swamp Thing, things like that. And I do this too, where I compare it to what's come before. But it's a little unfair to do that to Rom V because he is doing something different. He's doing something modern. But the idea that this is just a 10-issue series, and then in the midst of it, we get this one-and-done story, you know, self-contained, but still feels connected to the entire tissue of the book. The idea of the bomb leaking out, hate and aggression and pain and fear into the populace. Like, this was such a beautifully crafted singular story that if you haven't been reading Swamp Thing and you keep hearing everybody, including me and Gem Mint, talk about Swamp Thing by Rom V, you can just pick up this issue. I think you can read it and know if you're going to like this book. I love the artwork. I think it was really stretching for John McCrea, some interesting, different stuff. And the John Constantine bits, like, this is Vertigo John Constantine. This isn't that, like, PG-13 John Constantine they keep trying to force in and out of Justice League Dark and other places. This is my John, and this is my Swamp Thing. Even though it's a new Swamp Thing, I'm just loving this book.
And that's what I wanted to point out as well. Not only could you pick up this issue or just pick up this run, it's a new Swamp Thing, so you don't really have to know a lot of the backstory of Swamp Thing to enjoy this. So definitely jump on it. If you can't find the singles, maybe pick up a trade. My number 2 is X-Men 1. I love this, and you hit the nail on the head. Them being back in Manhattan makes it feel like a superhero book again. You see them fighting monsters, and they save the day before Fantastic Four and the Avengers can arrive. Those two teams kind of saying, hey, man, nice to have you back. That feels right. That feels like what we should have for the X-Men. Rogue in there, first one to touch down when the monster gets dropped down, and this was some type of weird kaiju monster. Not in a goofy sense, though, somebody sent some monster, somebody threw a rock at Earth is how they mentioned it. And I like the fact that they have this big HQ, the treehouse in Central Park West, right where they should be. It just feels good. The team, you know what? There's so many mutants to choose from. I'm kind of digging the team. I always wanted to read more Polaris stuff. You got Rogue there. There's a couple of new guys that I'm not really familiar with, but yeah, Cyclops feels like Cyclops. And I like the villain they set up in the very beginning. This guy that wanted to be the first human to land on Mars and to terraform Mars, and then, oh shit, they did it overnight during the Hellfire Gala for fireworks.
You know, as unexcited as I am for the majority of this team, I love the way that Duggan and company used them in the book. It was very interesting, syncing up with Ford so he could build this crazy, like, machine that they're in. Because if there's, like, some kind of kaiju monsters going on, you got to build, like, some kind of X-robot, right? I love how they're like, can we keep it? But great use of powers, like Polaris, too. And so I'm excited to see where this is going to go. Now it's time for number ones. And my number one is The Nice House on the Lake, number 2. This issue blew me away. The artwork by Alvaro Martinez Bueno. Perfection. Double page spreads, glorious, beautiful colors by Jordi Belair, really stretching her skills to do something more majestic than typically you get from her. And I mean that in the highest compliment, because just ordinary work from Jordi Belair is amazing coloring. This is some beautiful, rich artwork with excellent design. The story, you know, it's about these people that are stuck in a house. You know, we talked about this last month. It was one of the biggest books of the month. They do a great job of continuing on. This is the day after, the next day. They find this stone that they touch, and they can actually see their loved ones in their home and all the people dying and melting. They're talking about social media and the news just kind of going off. And like, it's got this creepy, eerie sense. What would it be like to be the last people alive and everything dies around you? And then the mystery of Walter. Who is he? And what is he doing to win some people over? And what is the group doing? The group dynamic is starting to shift. It's the next day. They're all starting to turn. They get this weird plan. Dude, I can go on and on and on about this book. Great artwork, an interesting mystery, perfectly structured on the script and on the page. Beautiful, rich colors. Oh my goodness. Jim, just take it away.
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, this is my number one as well, and a real missed opportunity, Robbie, to say the artwork was bueno. The artwork is great, the storytelling's so interesting, you just want to know what happens next. They have this, like, invisible barrier around the house, so they're scouting out, trying to figure out, can they leave, what's going on, is this real, looking on social media, the last updates were an hour and a half ago, and yeah, this magical stone where they can see what their home, and what it looks like now, and it's destroyed, and it's emotional, and Walter kind of, infiltrating the group now, influencing one of them, I can't really remember who's who yet, to kind of side with him. And then there was this transcript, so Walter is somehow spying on every word that they're saying, and he has them labeled as the artist, the writer, the doctor, the engineer, whatever. But it's kind of cool to be a fly on the wall, to see these people discussing the situation that they're in. So I didn't mind the transcript. A lot of time I don't like those type of pages in like the X-Men books, because it's like I don't know, like I'm reading a textbook or something. But this one was interesting, like peeking in on like Facebook comments of people arguing with each other. It's just, you could be lost in hours with that kind of stuff. And this guy Walter, what the hell is he? Is he an alien? Is he supernatural? He seems to have caused this, or is from a civilization that caused this. He kind of does this weird like Immortal Hulk morphing to teleport kind of thing. I don't know. It's an awesome book. Number 1 was pick of the week. Number 2 is pick of the week as well. And I'm super excited for issue 3.
You know, me too, man. I love the transcript things too. I know last week we were talking about Department of Truth, how I didn't like the journal pages. And I had some comments of people asking me, well, what's the difference? For me, the way that you find out that Walter and the house, they're very sophisticatedly watching them, transcribing everything they're saying. That's what is interesting to me, is they're adding a different element while telling the story in a different technique, but they're showing us something else. They're showing that they're being very meticulous with what they're saying, capturing every single thing, turning different members of the group. This is like some kind of science experiment or something. What if it all is just a science experiment? They're all in a simulation or something like that. It's very elaborate. Who knows? But the little touch of humanity you get too, where you see a little bit of Walter's past, and he's like telling one of his friends, like, hey, just remember this conversation and don't be too mad at me. It's a great mystery that just keeps getting deeper and deeper, and it's tight, tiny and tight.
Did other people give you shit besides me on the Department of Truth?
Oh yeah, I got a couple comments. I just wanted to address the room. Get it all cleared up.
Because I said something to Robbie at the beginning of this too. Anyway, those are our top 10 comics of the week. I hope you enjoyed them. Like I said, we are doing a giveaway for our next subscriber milestone of 150K. We're giving away this beautiful Deja Thoris statue by Sideshow. All you got to do is be subscribed, leave a like, and comment on this video. Once we hit the milestone, we'll go live the following Sunday, pick a random video where the giveaway was promoted, and use a random YouTube comment generator to draw a worldwide winner. So watch as many videos, comment on as many videos so we can get there faster. Robbie, let them know where they can find you and what you got going on.
Oh, you can find us over at Pop Culture Philosophers here on YouTube, Facebook, and of course Instagram. And we have a ton of fun. We got PCP movie nights going on right now every Friday night, 9 p.m. Central Time. We're now doing Action Fest. We're right in the middle of it. Cobra, Die Hard, John Wick, Fifth Element, Fast and Furious. I know, we're doing the Fast and Furious movies, all like 28 of them. Yeah, that's how we roll. Check us out on PCP Movie Night.
Pop. As always, appreciate you guys watching, but don't go anywhere. Check out last week's top 10 if you missed them. Check out this week's new comic book day reviews. Subscribe to Rockin Robbie and to Gem Mint Collectibles, and you stay minty fresh. Peace.